Thank you, Mr Speaker. With approximately 6 weeks to go to the election, we will have a series of promises made. And today, before that election period's actually started, we're hearing promise after promise from the opposition parties how they will fix things, they will change things, they will spend a lot of money, they will actually spend. That is what we are hearing from the opposition. We haven't even started the campaign yet. Imagine what else they're going to promise over the next 6 weeks. And some members over there haven't even started promising things because they haven't actually worked out where their campaign would actually want to go. But the reality is, New Zealanders are not that silly. New Zealanders understand that there needs to be a strong economic base. They need to have the money in the bank to pay for anything that we need to do. That has been the fundamental lesson that all New Zealanders have learnt over the world recession that we have been going through in the last 5 years. That if you do not have the cash, you can't spend it. The opposition parties are living in a fantasy world that they can go out there and promise, and suddenly it will all happen. And even their promises don't make sense. If you look at things like the capital gains tax, that is their answer for every expense. Every expense you will hear in the next 6 weeks, I bet you your bottom dollar, when you ask them where the money will come from, they'll say, we're going to bring in a capital gains tax. That's going to be their explanation. It won't actually tell you how much it would bring in. It won't actually tell you when it would bring in. Oh, yes, you do know the numbers. Lovely to hear them, because those numbers will be inaccurate, as they always have been coming from the Labor Party, and we look forward to Annette King telling us how much they would raise for a capital gains tax in each year for the next 5 to 10 years. But remember this, we're not talking about a capital gains tax that's universal. We're talking about a capital gains tax that is only on the wealth accumulating businesses of New Zealand. That will be on the farms, the businesses and those people that keep people in employment. That's the tax people that they want to tax. The Labor Party wants to tax the goose that lays the golden egg, you could say. That is what the Labor Party's great economic plan is. Not only is it uncosted, unfunded and unplanned in the Labor Party, but at the same time, the one thing they are using as their answer for all those issues is something that will actually hurt the income earning productivity of New Zealand. Just does not make economic sense. And then you go to the Green Party that's got their great policy around the environment and how they're going to tax those productive businesses even more with a carbon tax, just to redistribute that money as a blatant tax cut to try and buy votes during an election campaign. It's not using that money for environmental purposes. It's not using that money to clean up our rivers or anything like that. It is using that money to give a blatant tax break to middle New Zealand to try and win votes during an election. That's not sound green economic policy. That's not sound policy that would be effective at making New Zealanders look at their options. It is blatant politics at this time from the Green Party, and they try and disguise it as rational economic theory. The reality is the carbon tax and the capital gains tax are the only ways that the opposition has indicated they are going to raise money at the moment. Oh, they're going to put up personal taxes as well. So if you actually do well in New Zealand, you're going to be paying more in personal tax as well. Those three things are detrimental to New Zealand's economic growth and are detrimental to this country going forward. Because in the end of the day, if you don't have the money, you can't spend it. And that's what New Zealanders understand, and that's why New Zealanders back the government and they understand the economic management that we've gone through in the last 5 years. Let's look at what we inherited when we came in. These are the facts. In 2008, New Zealand was in recession. We were in recession before the rest of the world. This is before any share market crashes or anything like that. The Labor government managed to put New Zealand in recession before the rest of the world. Under Labor, there was a 50% increase in government expenditure. We got that under control. A 50% increase in government expenditure. Under Labor, mortgage rates were 10.9%. 10.9%, basically 11%, now 6%. Food prices under Labor were up 10.9% in the last year under Labor, 1.5% last year in this government. House prices went up 96% in the 9 years of Labor, 28% under this government. Electricity prices went up 72% under Labor, 20% under this government. Current account deficit, 7.9% under Labor, 3.4% under National. And New Zealanders have realised this and they're coming home. They are coming home in droves and they are staying here because they realise that we have one of the best Western economies in the world. And that is because you've had sound and prudent economic management. You've had a government that's looked at the opportunities for our country going forward and is not afraid to make the choices that deliver the pie that we can all share out in this House. Last week I was at a school event, and it was a school that had started this online voting because their students can't actually vote at the age they are. And the issue there raised was inequality, and it's one thing that you hear from the Greens all the time. And the website basically said, gave the students a chance to make their comments around that issue and to vote, essentially, so that they could say what they thought. And it was interesting at that. The Labor speeches and the Mana internet speech at that event basically centred on how everything should be equal, how there should be an equal world out there, how there shouldn't be starting out wages for young people trying to get a job, how there shouldn't be the 90-day probation period to try and get people into work, how everything in this world is equal and everything is the same. You know, you look at those students, just because you turn up to class, do you all get an A? You know, for those students, just because they all go to practice with the hockey team, does that mean they're going to be captain of the hockey team? No. The world doesn't work that way. The world is one where you have to work hard and do your best. And some people achieve more than others. That is the nature of life. On the other side, they will paint this picture of equality and say that there's some utopia out there where we can create and everything's equal and everything's, in their eyes, fair. But it's not fair. It's not fair to those people that want to go out there and get a good education, take some risks and build their future. It's not fair on New Zealand as a country that needs to succeed. And for us as a country to need to succeed, we need to invest in infrastructure, we need to invest in irrigation, we need to open up our mining industries, we need to be there making a strong economic base. We cannot live in a world which is a dreamland. We cannot live in a world where we think everything is necessarily equal just for the sake of political purposes. We cannot live in a world where we can promise, spend, but not actually have any costing for that. And that is the decision that New Zealanders will make in 6 weeks' time. On one side, they will see rational economic management that has delivered results in the most trying of times. And on the other side, they'll see people that will promise the earth, spout out some dreams and some visions of things that aren't realistic, and then not have any basis or means to actually make that a reality. That is the stark choice New Zealanders have, and New Zealanders are not silly. They're not going to go for the fable on one side when they've got the reality on the other side. They will not go for a wish list of dreams that will never happen when they know they can build their own future and deliver those results in a strong and competitive way. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the Honourable Annette King.
Mr. Speaker, that was a very